Welcome everybody to this Texthelp Back to School webinar series for 2019. And in particular, welcome to this first in the series, Read and Write for Google Chrome. This will be the first webinar we're doing over the next week. We're doing a range of webinars in our Back to School series. My name is Greg O'Connor, and I'll be your host for this webinar today and also the host over the next week. Well, it'll be my great pleasure to introduce a whole range of educators from across Australia and New Zealand to share their success stories in their school using a range of educational technology tools. And today for our Read and Write for Google Chrome webinar, it's my pleasure to have on board some educators from Australia and New Zealand, Kerry Ketty from Barraville, Gay Cross also from the Barraville area of the mid-north coast of New South Wales, and Vanna Blucher from Auckland. But I'll get those guys to introduce themselves in a minute, but I guess I'll just introduce myself and just to say that I'm an educator, a teacher that I've been teaching for over 30 years now, both in the classroom, also as a school executive and a regional education manager, and also as a technology coach and consultant around what I'm passionate about, and that is educational technology and literacy in particular. And I'm really fortunate at the moment to be the educational technology manager here for Texthelp for the Asia Pacific region. And I'm part of the Texthelp team, who we're based out of Brisbane in our Brisbane office, and supporting schools across Australia, New Zealand, and all of Asia Pacific for the range of technology tools that we provide. So let me introduce you now to the guys that are going to be sharing their wonderful stories with you over the next hour. And first of all, Kerry Ketty, you want to jump on and say hi to everybody?
Hello everyone, lovely to have you here this afternoon, and we're looking forward to sharing with you.
Great, and Kerry does, having been to Barraville Central School, it's some wonderful things are happening there, so I'm looking forward to hearing that. And Gay Cross.
Hi everybody, yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing with you some exciting things that have been happening out at Barraville and across the area that I work in. I'm in the Department of Education, and I work as an assistant principal, learning and support, and I've been a learning and wellbeing officer, and I've had the good fortune to work with so many wonderful people in our education offices and across our schools, and Kerry's one of those people. My background is very strongly in the area of literacy, learning, support, wellbeing and disabilities. And I have a really strong passion of building the capacity of all teachers so that we can really develop inclusive practices across all of our schools. So I've been really looking forward to sharing some of the great work.
Awesome, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. And again, like Kerry, I've had the pleasure of working with Gay and seeing the wonderful stuff that she does. Now let's head across to the ditch, and we can say hi to Vanna.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Vanna Blucher. I am the Priority and Supported Learning Leader at Hobsonville Point Secondary School. And it's really exciting to be able to share our journey with you and share a little bit about what we've learned and what we wouldn't be without now.
Fantastic, thanks guys. Look, let's jump in, because we've got about an hour, and we've got so much to share in this next hour. So what will we be covering? Well, what I'm going to do is we'll start off, and I'll just do a quick overview of Read and Write for Google Chrome for those folks who have perhaps never seen the program before or maybe new to it. So I just want to kind of give you a very, very quick tour of that, just for 5 or 10 minutes. And that's okay. If I go too quick, that's okay, because at the end I'm going to show you how you can get access to Read and Write for Google Chrome if you don't already have it, or if you do have it, a whole bunch of resources to help you using it. Once I've done that quick overview, I'm then going to hand back to Vanna first, and Vanna's going to tell us about the wonderful things that happen at Hobsonville Point Secondary School in Auckland, and then from Vanna we'll go across to Kerry and Gay, and we'll talk about Barraville Central School and schools in the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Once we've heard from everybody, then I'll jump back on and give you a bit of a heads up about what's new in Read and Write for Google Chrome. If you don't know, there's a couple of new tools that are really awesome, and also a bit of a sneak preview about something that's kind of coming up. And then to finish off, Vanna and Kerry and Gay are just going to share what they think are some of the keys to having a great start to the school year when you're using Read and Write for Google Chrome. And then I'll finish up by sharing a whole bunch of resources with you, or how you'll get those resources. And if you hang in there to the end, I'll actually even give you a link to some sneak preview of those resources. So we'll see you right at the end of the webinar for all that. So let's kind of jump in here. And just before we start, a bit of housekeeping for you all. For everybody who's watching this webinar live, you've got a control panel. You can minimize that control panel by hitting that little orange button on your screen. You'll also notice that your microphone is muted. We can't have everybody chatting right at the one time. We've got, at the moment, we've got over 50 people logged in, and we're accepting more, so that's a lot of folks. That's great. But if you do want to answer questions, what you can do is you can find in your control panel the questions box there, and you can type in a question that you might be dying to ask during the webinar. And we will answer those questions during the webinar. We've got Barbara Landsberg and Fiona Thomas from our Texthelp team. They're in the background there, and they'll be able to answer any questions for you. And maybe if there's specifically questions for Vanna or Gay or Kerry, though, when they're not talking, they'll be able to answer some questions there too. And right at the end, we might have time for further questions as well. So Texthelp. So often people kind of refer to Read and Write as Texthelp. Well, Texthelp, we're the company. We're a company, a global company that's been around for over 20 years, and we provide a range of literacy and numeracy educational technology tools. And over the next week for this back to school webinar series, I'll be hosting a bunch of webinars where we'll be looking at things like Read and Write, eQuest, and Fluency Tutor. And today, obviously, we're going to look at Read and Write. And one of the things about Read and Write and about all our tools that we provide is that, really importantly, that we get really excited by the fact that schools, teachers and students use these tools to personalize learning, to actually give those students, our learners, the agency, the ability for them to actually be able to access these tools whenever and wherever they are. So when you have a Read and Write subscription, you have it not only in your school or on that particular device, but you have it at home 24/7 on any device that you've got access to. And that's really important. And we're going to see today, when we hear the stories from Kerry, Gay and Vanna, how that's been an important part of their journey when they've used it with their students. And the cool thing about all this is that currently we have over 18 million, or more than 18 million students, people using Read and Write, and most of those we know are probably students. So how awesome is that we've got students across the globe using this tool? So what does this look like? What does this tool look like? Let me give you a quick kind of intro to it. So Read and Write for Google Chrome is a toolbar that appears in the Chrome browser for you, and it's available when you're in a Google Doc, when you're in Google Slides, when you're on a web page. It also, when you've got Read and Write for Google Chrome installed, you also get access to the Texthelp PDF reader in Chrome. So Read and Write, you can access PDFs and also ebooks as well. So let's dive in. So rather than look at slides, I'm going to jump in and we're going to give you a quick look at Read and Write for Google Chrome. So here I am. Here I've got a Google Doc, and when you've got the toolbar installed, it maybe appears just as this little purple puzzle piece with RW on it. And if I want to access it, I just press that and down comes this toolbar, and I have a whole bunch of tools there. Tools that will support me around reading, around writing, and around research and study as well. And things like text-to-speech. I put my cursor at the beginning of a sentence, I go up, find the play button, press play, and I can pause. I can adjust the speed of that. I can adjust the voice that I'm using. It's all very much customized for the user. So as a student, I can personalize this toolbar to actually how I want to be able to use it. And so I've got it set up the speed that I want it to read out and with the voice that I wish to have. So as well as actually having text to speech, as it's being read to me, I might need additional support features. For instance, it has a screen masking tool. When I go up to the toolbar and click it on, I've got it set up so that it actually turns the background color blue on my screen, but wherever my cursor is, as I hover over it, it gives me a reading window. So it's like using a reading ruler. I can actually do that, and I can go in and change that color. I can change the way that looks. I can have the whole screen colored. I can do a whole bunch of stuff with that as well. And as well, oops, and I'll just get out of that. And I can change those by looking at the different features there. As well as screen masking, I also have things such as on the toolbar here, I have an audio maker. If I was to highlight any of the text in that document where I am and then click the audio maker, it will turn that text into an MP3 and download that MP3 into my Google Drive. So I can actually be thinking about how I could use that, students using that to generate audio from web pages as well, from wherever they are. And the other feature is it's got a translator tool. So if any of those words in that document are not in my first language, I can easily translate individual words into my first language if I need that to occur as well. So as well as doing all those things, sometimes when I'm reading stuff though, down here in this document, I've got an image, and in that image there is text embedded in that image, and my screen reader won't read that text. Well, never fear, on the toolbar there is a feature called the screenshot reader. When I click on that, I come down here, I just draw a rectangle around those words, it will scan that image, and it will read that back to me, and I can have that read back to me again if I wish. So it will do that wherever I am as well. So any locked text in images, PDFs, web pages, diagrams can all be read back to me. Okay, so as I said, this is a really quick overview just to kind of get you up to speed on what this toolbar can do. I'll just go back to this document. Another thing it can do is I'm reading this information, and I need more information about what that particular word means. I go up to my toolbar. There's a dictionary, sorry, and that dictionary gives me a definition, and it tells me the part of speech for that word, and also a quick definition. Now, this is intentionally not meant to be, a quite intense definition. It's actually to give students quick understanding, to actually help them with their comprehension when they're reading this text, and they can have that read back to them by the play button. Whoops, I'll just press it again. Lots of dictionaries maybe read you the word back, but rarely will read you the whole definition back. So we've got that set up. And the other great thing about this to support student learning is you don't actually have to go somewhere else to another page to do a dictionary. It's actually all built into their toolbar. For some of our students, and maybe for our younger students, or maybe students who just need a visual support around that meaning, that might be either, say for instance, students with, again, English is not their first language, we've also got a picture dictionary set up. So when I've got that brought up, it will actually show me that word as an image. And wherever I click my cursor, put it on the word, on this new word, my dictionary and my picture dictionary will automatically change for me as well. So we've got that use of those dictionary supports on the toolbar. The students can even go one step further if they want to then gather, they're reading this document and then they want to research particular words, or they want to develop a vocab list for themselves. They're looking at those words and they need to find out more. They can go through and highlight individual words using their highlight tools, and they've got a range of colors they can choose from. I'll just use yellow for this case, and they can go through and highlight another word, and they can highlight, and I'm just going to highlight a bunch of those, 3 of those words. And when they've highlighted those words and press the vocabulary button, it will now create a vocabulary list of those words I've highlighted, put that words into a new Google Doc, and in that Google Doc, give me a table. In the table, there'll be 4 columns. The first column will have the word that I highlighted. Here it goes. The second column will have the definition for that word, and the third column, it will give me an image for that word. And I can, because it's a Google Doc, I can go through and take out anything I want and edit that. And I've got the 4th column that says notes, where I can actually, or if I'm the student, I can go in there and actually enter my own data in there as well. I might put in my own pictures, I might write my own sentence, whatever it is I need to do. So it creates these wonderful vocabulary lists for me as well. Now, Read and Write allows me not only to do that in a Google Doc, but as I said, it actually reads Google Slides as well. That works with Google Slides, and it also works with web pages. If I go to a web page, and here I'm on a web page, and I need access to Read and Write for this web page. Because, you know, web pages, websites are a major source of research and information for our students. Now, you notice that there's no little purple puzzle piece locked into the screen. When I'm on a web page, the purple puzzle piece is up here where my extensions are, and I click on that, and it brings it down as a floating toolbar, which is cool. So I can move that around. I can adjust where I have it on my screen, and you notice that all those features that I was showing in the Google Doc will do exactly the same thing on a web page. I can have the web page read back. I can change the way it's reading back to me. I've got access to a dictionary, to a picture dictionary. I've got the screenshot reader to actually, any text that's locked on a web page, I can actually access that. I can turn web page text into an audio file. I've got the screen masking tool. I've also got the translator tool. And as well, I can do those highlights, words, and create vocabulary lists. If I'm on a web page, I can do even more than that. I can do things like I may decide that this web page is just far too complicated, and it's actually got too many distractors. I mean, the text complexity is such for me that I'm having difficulty reading all these web pages. So if that's the case, if I just want to get what's the main information from this web page, I can click on the simplify the page, which is a feature that just is on the toolbar only when I'm on a web page. I click on that, and it takes that web page, takes everything off the web page I don't need, and just gives me the main text from that web page. And there it is. So actually, it's a great tool for those students who may be to support issues around cognitive load or distractibility, or just want to be able to quickly get a summary of the main information from that web page. Once I've done that, and I'm on that web page to support my research and study, I may want to then be collecting information as well. So I can, rather than just copying and pasting and forgetting where I got all this from, I can go through now. I've read this, that's really important. I want to get some of this stuff. So I'm doing some research before I start my writing. And rather than just copying and pasting now, I'm actually highlighting, and then I'm saying to Read and Write, can you collect those highlights for me? Go OK. And then it's going to take what I've highlighted and put that into a new Google Doc for me. And as well as that, not only collect all the highlights, but also give me the web link where I got it from. So it's kind of helping me keep track of where I'm getting all this stuff. Okay, so let's just go back to our Google Doc here for the minute. So as I said, this is a quick tour for you. I just want to get rid of those highlights on that page now. I can go up here and go clear highlights, and I'm all good to go. And then just one other other features that are in the toolbar for writing. If I kind of come down to here and I need to write some text here, I'm asked to write something on this Google Doc. The first thing I could use my voice, for instance. So, or I could use my keyboard, but I use my voice to start with, and I might want to type in elephants live in Africa. I've forgotten how to spell the word Africa, you know. So, and we know that when it comes to writing, you only write words you know and you can spell. So rather than looking for I need to write the word Africa, I can go up on the toolbar, and we do have a talk and type, a speech recognition tool. I click on that. I make sure it's set for my accent, and obviously I've got an Aussie accent. And I want to spell the word Africa. Africa. And just there we go. So I'm using that feature as a spelling tool. For some students, it's a great tool for them to get their thoughts down on paper. Other students can literally write what they want using their voice, and it comes with a whole bunch of voice commands where you can put in full stop, new lines, new paragraphs, and stuff like that. But if I wanted to use not use my voice, but actually just use my keyboard, we've got the feature which is the word prediction feature. So as I start to type, it starts to predict for me, and I can hover over the word that I want. That's the word that I want. And as I start to type in the word, it's looking for the next appropriate word. And I'm a bit of an inventive speller, so even when I'm trying to find this word, it's actually what I'm after is elephant. It's finding that for me, the elephant. And W, and I want to look for the word was, so it's giving me that. And what it does, what Read and Write does in Google Chrome when it comes to word prediction, it looks at that letter that I've just typed, and then it finds those two words that come before that letter. And it'd be better if I had 3 words, and it goes to the web and looks at 10 million phrases on the web where those 2 words exist, like the elephant. And when the letter W appears, it comes up with the 10 most commonly occurring words. So it's like a real life writing tutor for students. Not only that, it's actually helps students with who have trouble with keyboarding, so it reduces the keyboarding number of keyboard strokes you've got to do, and it also is great for students. It kind of gives them ideas for vocab and also spelling and grammar. So I'm going to click off that. There's so much more in the program that I could share, but we're not here to listen to me demo Read and Write. What we're here to do is listen to our wonderful educators from New Zealand and Australia to share what they know. So I'm gonna hand over to Vanna first, and we're gonna hear from Vanna about the great things that have been happening at Hobsonville Point Secondary School around Read and Write. So just give me a second, and what I need to do is give Vanna the ability to share her screen. Okay, and there we should be, Vanna should be coming up.
How's that?
Good, perfect.
Is that working? Yeah?
That is beautifully. And hey, Vanna, it's great to have you with us for this webinar, and I'm excited for you to be sharing the wonderful things that happen at your school with everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and also really happy to share our journey, because it's been one that has grown very quickly and become, part of our inclusive practice here. So a little bit about us. We're very new. We're only in our 6th year, so we've only been open for a very short time, and we're located in West Auckland, built on the old Hobsonville airbase. So we've become this very sort of booming, positive community in a very small section of West Auckland, and it is a very, very special place to be. I don't know why it's not letting me move. Sorry, it's not letting me share anything. Hang
on. Technology, Vanna.
I know.
Use your slides. Don't use the webinar screen. Can you?
I thought, I just get sorry about this. I thought I was all set and I thought it was going, but there we go. Can you see that now?
I can. Fantastic.
Excellent. And that little bit on the side's not showing up, is it?
No, all I can see is your slides.
Very sorry about that. So we are all about excellence, and that isn't really about numbers and credits and percentages of anything. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, and we are determined to engage our learners through authentic agentic learning, which makes us a little bit special, because we're kind of reframing secondary school education, certainly in West Auckland, for all of our learners, and we're very proud of that. And so when you combine personal and academic excellence and you become the best version of yourself, you do that very confidently, and it means that you can contribute to the world in whatever way that you can with whatever you want to be with the best skills that you need. So rather than sort of thinking, you know, we're preparing learners for jobs that don't exist yet, we think that we're preparing learners for whatever they may choose to do when they leave us here. And that journey can be very personal depending on what they're wanting to do. So it's about having the right dispositions, if you like, to leave school with and enter the workforce. And how do we do that in an inclusive environment where essentially 640 kids are on an IEP or their individual plan? We have found that explicitly using Read and Write for Google has made a huge difference to all of our learners. And this is just an example of a class. As you can see, we do things a little bit differently here. So this is just a planning format from one of our teachers here, where you can see the explicit use of Read and Write. So there are definite ways that they can see their success criteria and how they're going to get to where they finish, where they want to be. There are several tasks that they can do. And because we use Google Classroom as our platform, obviously it's all linked to everything that they need to do. And as they step through, the first part is they're using their highlighting tool. And then the next part of the task carries on and goes through the highlighters, the vocabulary lists, and then checking their learning. So when these lessons are planned and all of the staff are using Read and Write for Google in some way, it becomes almost fluent, it becomes automatic. All of our learners are used to jumping online, seeing a Google Classroom with some aspect of Read and Write for Google on it, and they're also very familiar. And what that does by exposing everybody to it, with all of our staff using it, is that it takes away a stigma for why you might need to be using Read and Write for Google. So nobody feels like they've got an additional need. The additional need is needing to complete the work to the best of your ability. And removing that stigma has been very important for our learners with additional needs. They don't feel like they've got anything different or anything special. And that's something that we try really hard to do and make sure that they're feeling very confident within that. Here's some of our learners in working in different settings, in different contexts. There's an interesting combination of, I guess, group work and individual work. And as you can see, our learners are all very engaged and very happy. We love having them here. This is an amazing campus. If you get the chance to come and see us, please do so. One of the reasons that we, oh, sorry, don't want that yet. One of the reasons that we really like Read and Write for Google, as I said, is that it benefits all of our learners. I guess in some ways, the learners with an additional need of dyslexia were I guess the ones perhaps that we maybe targeted or really encouraged to use the tool first of all, but now that's grown to the whole school using it throughout. I'd like to introduce you to Max now. So Max is a learner with significant additional needs, and here he is talking about why this is great. This app might help you.
I'm tired of people reading to me.
Tired of people reading to you?
With this, I feel like I'm more independent, more helpful to myself.
You can be more helpful to yourself. Is that one of your learning goals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, give us a smile and a thumbs up. There you go. Max has enjoyed not having to have a human beside him reading all of the time. He really enjoys being able to manage as much as he can on his own, which is pretty cool. I'm just trying to move on to the next slide. So you'll see in our video that's coming up shortly that this is Carlos, and he's very open with his challenges with dyslexia, and he is one of the people that has used this from day dot and would not be without it now. And he talks about how Read and Write helps him to understand and makes things easier. And he's also fiercely independent, and he loves being able to do so much more by himself. And we're really lucky. The PAT testing, that's kind of standardised testing, that is probably the only form of standardised testing that we do in our foundation years, is compatible with Read and Write for Google now. So he can sit with his headphones and complete the reading vocab test alongside his peers without needing to be taken off into another room with an adult, which is also something he really appreciates. I wanted to use this picture, I guess, just to highlight that learning, and gathering and sharing resources and what can come in a myriad of different ways, and that reading and writing really is only a small part of how we collect our evidence, and the making and the doing is so much more. I guess the process is really important, and so the speech to text feature is really important to us because these learners can speak and talk as they're going, they're capturing the evidence, they can refine it later on if they want to. They don't need to do something and then go away and think about it. They can talk as they go, and that's something that all of our learners have really got good at, and we've got a few superstars with that, and we make sure that we do our very best to make sure that they can share what they know, and that we acknowledge what they know rather than what they can write down or what they can read. And 9 times out of 10, the oral presentations are just stunning, and Noah's an awesome example of that. So last year we had the pleasure of having the film crew come and work with us with our school. So I thought I'd just show you a little bit about what the kids said.
Hobsonville Point Secondary School opened to students in 2014. At present, we have around 460 students at Hobsonville Point Secondary. We have a broad range of ethnicities. We have Pākehā, New Zealand European students, Māori, Pacifica, a number of English second language students, as well as a number of students who have moved to New Zealand from across Europe as well. We made a decision for all of our students to have access to Read and Write. And the reason we did that is we believe it's a suite of tools that can help absolutely any student in and beyond the classroom.
This school is inclusive, it's fun, it's enjoyable, but more importantly is student-centred and is about our students and their learning and everybody being on an individual pathway to personal and academic excellence. We're a very technology-rich school, and so we're really lucky to have the tools from Texthelp to support us with that. So the students here can use the tools at school and at home because we push the licence out on their school email account. One of the things that we've noticed using the tools such as Read and Write means that students can use speech, they can use the MP3 tool, they can use predictive text, which means they can show the learning that they're capable of, not what they can read or not what they can write. So they're able to get more out of their learning, they're able to show us what they can do, and we can help them refine that.
I use Read and Write all the time, and I use it with all my students. It creates the kind of classroom environment where those students who really need to use it will feel comfortable to do so.
Following the instructions for Read and Write took us no more than 5 or 10 minutes to deploy to the entire school. With the licensing for the CSV files, it's really straightforward as well. With the Google management, you're able to export the list of all the students in one hit, and then upload that in one hit to Read and Write for licensing. It couldn't be much simpler.
Before Read and Write, it was quite hard to keep up with my work that I've prioritized, because I was switching pages and putting notes in different places, because it's not how I think. I can't just stay on one thing for an hour. I need to keep switching it up because I keep getting different ideas at different moments. It's just easier to put it all down.
Before I had Read and Write, I had problems with spelling and just overall writing. I avoid writing as much as I could because I didn't know how to spell a lot of words. I did the basics of it, but I couldn't. But when I got Read and Write and like learned how to use it, it just really improved my writing, which a lot of teachers said to me. I started writing longer stories. I started enjoying writing instead of avoiding it. I also use Read and Write for like Facebook posts, Twitter posts, Instagram posts. So I just hate it when I post a Facebook post and it's like something spelt wrong in it. But like I can always just check over it, see if everything's good, and if it is, it's just cool and I can post it. Yeah.
A couple things I find difficult is my learning in maths and literacy because I have dyslexia and dyscalculia. This makes things difficult because it's hard to understand the things that the teachers are saying, and writing stuff is a lot slower because I have to take my time. I love Read and Write because it makes it a lot easier and it helps me understand a lot more things than it does when I'm just looking at a piece of paper with a lot of words on it. This is
one of the things that's been most pleasing about these last 4 years is to see the level of engagement by our students. We host visitors from throughout New Zealand and across the world every week in our school as they come to have a look at our particular model. And all of those visitors come away in quite a stage of disbelief as to the high level of understanding kids have about their learning, what they're learning, why they're learning it, and what the next steps are. And they're all impressed with that high level of engagement. So I'm getting that feedback every week from students that they feel as though learning is authentic and engaging at the school. Therefore, they're happy to turn up to school, and I'm sure that contributes to the deeper learning and the great qualifications they're getting.
Oh, we had such a good time making that, didn't we?
That was awesome.
That's a little bit about us. Would love to have anybody ask any questions. Would love to host you if you want to come and see us. But yeah, thanks for letting us share our story and giving us a platform to do that.
You're welcome. That was awesome. As Vanna said, if you want to ask any questions, just shoot it in the question panel in your control panel there. Otherwise, at the end, I'll give you some ways you can contact us, and I'm sure Vanna would love to hear from anybody who wants to find out about the things that happen at her school. So I'm just going to just go back to here. I'm just going to get back make myself the presenter again. Okay. Well, thank you to Vanna. I should be seeing my screen. There we are. Now I'm going to hand over to Kerry and Gay to tell us about the things that have been happening at Bowraville Central. So let me make those guys the presenter. Here we go. Okay, guys, there you go. You can now share your screen, and we're good to go. Beautiful. Okay, over to you.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Kerry from Bowraville Central School. I'm the head teacher of teaching and learning and the instructional leader. And Gay's with me.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So I wanted to talk to you about a particular project that we did about improving literacy across KLAs. We're from Bowraville, and I wasn't sure if anybody knew where Bowraville was, but it is on the mid-north coast. Our postcode's 2449, and that's also our population. So we're quite a small town. We're a veranda post town, and that's a photo of our main street there. So some of you might have heard of Bowraville. It's a very diverse community. We have a very significant low socioeconomic community. We also have just a few farming families here. We're pretty famous for our Greg Inglis, the Australian captain of the rugby league, Billy Mackay, who won MasterChef, and we do host the final leg of the World Rally once a year, and we get to showcase the beautiful forests around our town. While I'm on this slide, I just wanted to say that I've been here for 9 years, and there's a couple of things I'm absolutely passionate about. One is the kids that we teach. The community, I love the community despite the challenges here, and I absolutely love literacy. And literacy is my thing because it underpins workplace participation, and in a community with multi-generational unemployment, workplace participation is really important to us. So in our town, our biggest industry is education, health and social work. Employment here, where there is employment, is labourers, sort of community work, unskilled trades and machine operators. So we're trying to change the community, playing a big part in that. Oh, okay. Now, where did I start? In my instructional leadership role, I decided to survey the staff against the Australian teaching standards to have a look if I could identify some sort of needs of the teachers. So I really want everything that I do to be teacher driven. The data that I got from that allowed me to identify individual teacher needs and then common needs and KLA specific needs. Sorry about that. So after I did the survey, I thought about what I could do to help teachers across KLAs, and that would give teachers individual support and the support for staff and students. So out of my original survey, we came up with 3 things. The staff itself, as a whole, they wanted help with technology, with personalising learning for our really diverse student group, and with literacy. So I had 3 things I really had to focus on, and I called on Gay, my friend from regional office, to try and help me come up with a plan or brainstorm a way that I could help teachers in those 3 areas.
All right, so luckily, this is Gay here talking now. I had already had quite a few years working around some projects around Texthelp, even back to when Texthelp was often known by people as Read&Write Gold. We've just lost picture. We lost the photo on the screen there. Greg?
That's okay. How you going? You lost your photo?
Yeah.
If you like, I can show the slides on my screen, and you can just talk to them, and you can tell me when to change slides. Is that okay? Yeah. How about we do that? Hang on. Let me.
There we go.
Good? You're back again? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry, people.
Here we go.
All right. We'll just load that up for everybody. Okay, so so way back when things were even called Read&Write Gold, I'd been working with a few schools, so it was really cool when Kerry said, Gay, have you got some ideas? This is what the staff need. They're wanting to work around literacy, and they want to work around Google and supporting kids with Google literacy based. And I went, perfect. Have you heard of this program called Read&Write? And we just recently completed a project at Aurora High School, which was facilitated by a Vision itinerant teacher, Carly Turnbull, and Joe Judd, who was currently the DP there. And we went, great, let's look at how we can run a bit of a literacy differentiation project based around this Read&Write. So we discussed that, and Kerry thought that would fit in perfectly because they were looking at purchasing a suite of Chromebooks as well. So we thought, okay, well, let's look at the Read&Write for Google Chrome, and that would match what Barraville Central was needing. So it was a bit of an assessment of the environment and what that was already existing there. So it also addressed the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, and so all of Kerry's boxes were ticked. Yeah. So away we went.
Okay, so there was a couple of things though, because I'm a science teacher, I didn't want to jump in and just do things willy-nilly. I wanted to really have a look at how I would measure whether what this was doing would make a difference at our school. And that included carefully choosing our first group. So our first group that we focused on was a Year 7 class. We had a look at what they were going to need. So I wasn't really interested at that stage in where they were sitting on NAPLAN or our other statewide standard testing. It was all about the small data that we used here in the school. Some of the purchase packages that we use, like Probe, We also used a couple of different tools to really get an idea of where the students were in terms of literacy, and so that way we could plan of how we were going to get there. Unlike the other school where students can take laptops home and also use the same program at home, I needed my students to improve literacy that they could transfer into the real world and not necessarily on a screen. Most of our students don't have a device at home, and certainly not many of them have internet. We also don't have phone coverage in Bowraville, but that's another story. So yeah, my project was all about improving their literacy skills.
Okay, so we met at Bowraville Central School and we discussed a bit of an implementation plan, and what you see on the screen there is, in summary, what we actually followed, the process that we followed for the implementation, which was roughly in about 5 or 6 phases. It says 5, but it was probably 6. So the first phase was that we were explicitly teaching the students the read and write toolbar, and then we'll talk about that more in a moment. We had the students reflect on all of the suite of tools, so that was really powerful to really get them to start to think about all of the choice that was before them all of a sudden. And then we had students then discuss this with their teachers and then actually mentor their teachers and show them the tools and help them implement those tools within the classroom. So that was really powerful. And then we looked at embedding read and write in the classroom KLA lessons. So that's an ongoing process which is going on today. We also followed up with some staff meetings and some training follow-ups. And of course, number 6 now is we're looking at expanding that use across the school, and Kerry's looking at scaling it up to a broader group of people. Now, to date, I've worked across a few schools, and Bowraville has been one of the more successful implementations on a broader scale of read and write for Google Chrome. And I just wanted to let people know that the way I see it being successful was due to a few things. We had a very supportive executive staff and key staff, which was Kerry as deputy, leading the whole school. Professional learning. We had, there was a budget, so you needed a budget to get things going. Release of staff for training. We had to get the licenses happening. There was a very highly competent and innovative school-based IT coordinator, Josh Lassurf here, that was key. And we had dedicated learning and support team members. And we had a very supportive principal and leadership team. And then there was outside support as well, which was myself and a couple of other teachers, Joe and Lindy, they know who they are, were coming into the school with little bursts of support. So all in all, we felt that that was a real good framework for getting something kicked off around the Read and Write project. Okay, so what we had to do first up was that computers for some of these students at Bowraville were not standard prior to this project. Some of the students had not even really used a computer or seen a computer, and certainly not for really educational purposes. So just having them use the Chromebooks, the new Chromebooks, was a big deal. So we really need to sat some of the students down initially and work through all of those suite of tools that you can see on the screen. So that basically the students were taken through a hands-on exploration of not just the read and write toolbar, but all of those other types of tools as well. Okay, so what you see here is the actual medium of how we taught the students and the teachers as well. And what we were looking at, we set up a Google Classroom, which you can see on the left. So that had a whole range of activities and resources that initially the students used to familiarise themselves with the Read and Write toolbar. And on the right-hand side, I'm hoping you can see that, was a Google Doc that we had set up that was actually in the Google Classroom that students then accessed. So they each got their own copy as a doc, and they worked their way through every single tool and played around with every single tool and were guided through that process. And then the students were then able to use that doc to then sit down and explain with their teachers what this was all about and what they were learning about the different tools that were able to support them for literacy. So what we've got here is was a young man who had just been introduced to the suite of tools and a whole range of technologies, but some of the toolbar features of Read and Write were really mind-blowing for him. And I'm hoping that you can hear this. I'll just see how we go. It's just one of the students' reflections on
Hey, Gabe, we can't hear that, but that's okay because everyone's going to get a copy of the slide deck and they'll be able to see the video when they get the slide deck.
Yeah, that's okay, no worries. I wasn't too sure if you'd be able to hear the audio. It's a beautiful little story that this young man talks about, is how he felt that not only was he going to be able to better access reading and writing, that he was going to get faster at his work, and that meant that he wouldn't get into trouble and that his behaviour would improve and he'd get better grades ultimately. So it was really gorgeous to hear the feeling of empowerment that this young man and a whole range of other students felt when they had explored the potential for what these tools could do for them. Okay.
So with the rest of the project, look, it went really well. The students discussed their choice of tools with the teachers, and I think one of the big things for the students were they were the experts and that they mentored the teachers. That was a huge successful part of the program. We're looking now that we are expanding across the whole school, that cohort of students that have gone through now, and this is their second year of using it, that they'll be able to assist us to spread that across the school. We're a kindergarten to year 12 school, so we have a primary school as well, and we're hoping that they'll be able to get into the primary school and train all of those kids. In a nutshell, how did I know we were winning with our plan? I've really just on the left there put in a summary really the steps that we took. So I started out looking at the teachers' needs, and I think it's really important with any project that the teachers themselves drive it. So it was all about their needs. We did develop a plan, and that's where Gay came in and helped me. We did all the pre-data measuring, and that was with that purchased packages that we used. We acted in our explicit teaching. We've measured again and had a look at our results and analysed it and reflected on it. So our new plan with adjustments, a couple of things we're going to change, and we're rolling it out across the whole school. So on the whole, look, it was really successful for lots of different reasons, which I'll go into. I wanted to put this slide up because apart from the obvious things like kids being a little more confident in the classroom and you know, the probe results improving slightly, there was a couple of the results that really shocked us. The slide you can see there, the light green colour, is the results of our Aboriginal students in our VALID testing. VALID is our science literacy test. The reason this is significant is that the Aboriginal students in our school are just under 40%, so they're a massive minority, I suppose, 40% of all students Aboriginal, and for the results to increase that much in their science literacy, I partly attribute certainly to the empowerment that they have felt using the Read and Write. The students were more engaged in their learning for that whole period, more confident to have a go at things, and definitely their vocabulary I thought had improved. So that result there speaks volumes for me, and having a science background, look, I couldn't have been more blown away by the growth of those students. So I talked a little bit about the obvious benefits. Some of the other things were the kids felt that they had a different avenue to seek help by using the toolbar. Like, they didn't necessarily have to quickly jump in and ask the teacher something. They sort of explored the toolbar and found different ways to figure out things for themselves. When we videoed the kids, we noticed a lot of them discuss things between themselves, sort of helping each other with the toolbar and trying to figure things out together. And I think the big thing that came out of that was individual kids didn't feel that they were alone, that, you know, they might have been struggling and so might the person next to them. And it took the focus on them, off them, and onto the screen. So I think that helped a lot. One of the other things was that some teachers got a bit of a clue about what the issues were with individuals. So just watching the kids, you got to know which kids used the predictive text or which kids, you know, really liked it being read to them. So it was an easy way of identifying individual student strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll probably finish there, Greg, because you can probably gather that everybody, Kerry and I, could talk about this all day, simply because we've seen such powerful improvement. So I hope that gives people an insight into things at Barraville.
It's fantastic. Thank you, Kerry and Gay. Amazing. And as I said, everyone's going to get a copy of the slides, so I'll get a copy of all that information, and particularly Alfred's short video where he talks about how and why he used Read and Write. I'm just going to go back and grab that back from you guys and kind of come back here just to finish up, because we're almost to the end of our webinar, and I just want to just finish up with a couple of things. I mean, first of all, thank you to Vanna and Kerry and Gay for sharing their stories around Read and Write. So, but secondly, to look at some just to finish up, we're looking at a couple of other things, such as what's new in Read and Write. I neglected to show you at the beginning before that one of the new features we actually have on your Read and Write is when you have it installed, you actually have Texthelp's PDF reader now as a PDF reader in your Chrome account. And so here's an example, and it does just what I was doing in my Google Doc before. It has all those different features available. And now I understand, I'm going to turn my microphone up because I don't think you could hear my text-to-speech too well before. I'll just press it here. You should actually hear this a little bit better. And so all that kind of stuff happens. The cool thing about the PDF reader is it actually has an annotation tool, and I can annotate my PDF by either typing onto it, using predictive text, using my voice to actually put onto that PDF as well. And as well as that, I can also comment on my PDF, so I can annotate it via a comment. And one of the cool things there, I can also comment using my voice. So if I was to use my voice, I'm going to use my microphone, go allow, and I can go testing 1, 2, 3, or make a comment, or I might be the teacher wanting to make a comment back to my student, whatever it is, I can listen. And I'm good with that. I press comment, and now it will attach that as a voice file to my PDF. And we actually have the same capacity to build into the Google Doc as well. So you can actually attach your voice as well. So that's the new PDF reader. One other new feature that we have in Read and Write is this feature called Check It. And you might have, if you've an older version of Read and Write, you might have noticed we had a spelling checker. Well, now we've actually replaced the spell checker with Check It. And Check It will not only check your spelling, it will also check grammar, and it will check for homophones. And you can see when I've got a document, as I've got here, and I've chosen Check It. Check It analyzes a document and will go in and then underline that document where it thinks I need to look at that. And so here I can actually go in and it will give me an alternative, and it's saying, should that word not be the word for? And so I can go in and change that. For instance, you know, it's over here, it's identifying that maybe that's a grammar error there as well. So it does all those kind of things. It even lets me go in, and when that word is spelled correctly, I can choose that, add it to my dictionary, and will add it to my personal dictionary that I can then keep for me as well. So Check It is a powerful tool that's new, that's just come in, and it's going to be a powerful editing tool that your students can use. After they've actually drafted what they want to say, they can use that to edit their tools. And just to go back, one other new feature that we've got now in Read and Write, for those people that use Google Classroom, we've now got what we call Data Desk. So you have the ability, if you're using Google Classroom with your Read and Write for Google Chrome, you can now go in using Data Desk. You can decide which features are turned off or turned on for students, for specific students, for classes of students, or for all students. So you have that control where you can support students by, maybe for lots of reasons, you don't want them to have access to certain features. Maybe there's too much for them to have access. But also as an exam toolbar where you just want to have certain features turned on for students. And you can even set it up to at a specific time or for a specific length of time. So that's really cool. So that's new, that's now available. And what's coming soon is we're going to take this one step further. And if you're using Google Classroom, you'll be able to look at analytics for particular students. So you'll be able to go in and go, I wonder how this particular student or this group of students, or all my students, are actually going using Read and Write. And you can look at across the whole school, for instance. You can look over a period of days or a time frame and look at what's being used. You can see it on a per day usage rate across all your students or individual students if you want, and you can also see which features they've been using most regularly. So I'm just thinking back to what Kerry was talking about, taking data. What we're doing here, and it's been the biggest request we've had, is help to actually take that data. Data is actually can be quite difficult and time consuming to take. So this is a way that we can actually help you with that. And you can you'll even be able to, when this comes online, to export it as a spreadsheet, and you'll have that kind of level of data that you'll have available for your students. And as well as that, you'll be able to, across your school, look at what the students are across your whole domain of your school are using in terms of different features that they're using, when they're using them, and so on. And if you're worried about the data, I'll just put this up here, that if you want to look at that, about when we collect data, none of it's kept on our server. It's all kept on your school system, but we're very clear about that. And that's just a little link to clarify what we see is very important when it comes to data and privacy. Okay, so look, we're actually a minute off, but we'll just keep going. So I just want really to throw back to Vanna and Kerry and Gay, and just really quickly say, Vanna, if you were to start the school year off, and using Read and Write, what would be a key to you to have a great start to the school year using Read and Write?
Great start to the school year using Read and Write is, first and foremost, have all your staff on board, so take them on the journey with you, but also have it set up and ready to go from the second the students enter the grounds, so they know nothing different.
Yeah, awesome. That's often, you don't want to be spending the first term trying to get the thing loaded up or get supported across the school.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. What about Kerry and Gay? Do you have any hints for anybody when they're starting out the new school year and they've got Read and Write set up?
This is Kerry. I think I'd review the whole school baseline data or your target group. So I'd have a look at the data and then I'd brainstorm a plan to implement the use of Read and Write. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think a few things. I wouldn't assume that every student and staff member remembers from the previous year, and sometimes we get new casuals or new staff through and new students through. So a refresher, planning on a refresher across everywhere and everybody is a really useful thing to think about. Yeah, that would be what I would suggest.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and it's really important to get these tools in the hands of our students, so they can get on and actually give them that agency to get on and get engaged in their learning. Okay, so this has been great. So thank you everybody for joining us today. If you're new to Read and Write and you just want to kind of, those stories of success have really inspired you, and you don't actually currently have access to Read and Write for Google Chrome, well, the good news, it's free for all teachers. All you need to do is go to this link. If you type in text.help/KW1PCO, look, you'll get the link when you go to the slide. It's a bit to read that back. But if you were to Google free for teachers, it will come up there too, and you can sign up and you will get a free for teachers account. If you're a school, then you can contact us and we can help you figure out how you can get a school subscription for your whole school. Also, to help you, just really building on what the guys just said about having a great start to the year, is important is to connect with other schools and teachers who are using tools like Read and Write. And so we actually have a Facebook page we've set up. And if you're a Facebook user, you look for our Asia Pac group, Asia Pac Facebook group, and there you'll actually can join our group. And we've got lots of people interacting and sharing resources, and just not only about Read and Write or our products, it's about a whole bunch of other things as well when it comes to educational technology and student learning. So I would really encourage you to join our Facebook group as well. Now, I promised you a sneak peek. So what's going to happen is this webinar has been recorded. So when we finish the webinar, you will get a link to the recording and you'll get a link to a landing page full of wonderful resources. But as a sneak peek to some of those resources, if you just grab that address on your screen, it's www.gregoryo'connor.com/resources/login, and you go there, it will ask you for a password, and the password is Texthelp with a capital T. That'll give you access to a whole web page I've put together of resources for you to use around literacy and numeracy and educational technology. Okay, well, it's been awesome. Just to let you know that this has been hosted and run by your local Asia Pac Texthelp team. We're actually here in Australia and New Zealand. This is our region. If you want local support or advice, you can just contact us at that email address. If you have technical support, we have our wonderful Siobhan, who's in our Brisbane office, and he will provide you technical support as well. He's available via support@texthelp.com. But we reach out if you need anything after this webinar. If you want more information, by all means, contact us at asiapac@texthelp.com. I'm just looking at, all the questions seem to have been answered. There's no other questions or thoughts. That's all good. If you, as I said, if you need to, by all means, get in contact with us here at Texthelp at asiapac@texthelp.com. But be on the lookout in your email inbox for an email soon with a link to the resources and the slides. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Vanna. Thank you, Kerry, and thank you, Gay.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.